The closer Ellis and Sunday get to each other, the more we're allowed to see what they were. But considering there are issues beyond Ellis cheating when it comes to their past, there is the need to question, is it too soon to pick up where they left off? To begin, we have to talk about the state of Ellis's relationship with Anastasia and Everly and how his relationship developing with Sunday plays into that. Now, when it comes to Everly, it's clear that she definitely favors her father over her mother because the way that Ellis makes it seem, once Anastasia found this new love in her life, she didn't necessarily drop her kids like a hot potato, but she definitely decided that it's time for her to be selfish and, pursue her happiness. And with that, yes, she's still co parenting, but it's very clear that the primary custodian is Ellis. And with that in mind, Ellis deciding to, shift focus away from Everly and Bree to a certain degree, and now focus on Sunday and, helping around her father's house. In a way, it wouldn't be an issue if it wasn't for the fact that Ellis is hiding that things are developing with Sunday. And not only that, Sunday catches this and it kind of sours the day that she had planned with Ellis, but it's not so big that it leads to a blow up. In fact, because he decides to reveal this cottage that he's rebuilding, mainly for the sake of the money down the road for when he sells it, she feels very privy to what's going on in his life beyond what perhaps Anastasia or anybody else may know. But while him opening up about what he's doing in the future, kind of gives her insight on what's really going on in his life, at the same time, it kind of opens the door to their past beyond Ellis's cheating and shows that one of the issues that Ellis would have with Sunday is that being that MV was a judge, it meant that Sunday had a certain amount of privilege. She had money back in her. Her father seemingly had connections that could allow her to get into college. So her skipping class and doing things like that, while fine for her, Ellis didn't want to be part of that because he didn't have the same type of privilege or the possibility of grace so that he can do stuff like that and not mess up his potential. Add in that, in retrospect, he's not really fond of how sometimes Sunday likes to get involved and, in her way, something that's loving and trying to support him, but in his mind, her trying to get him jobs, like helping Lynette out in order to make some money for his company, or else how when they were younger, her buying him an outfit for a senior event, you can tell that that kind of rubbed him the wrong way. And while at the time he may not have thought about it, now as a grown-ass man, he's kind of looking at it like, I wish you didn't do that. And I don't know if it's a dignity thing because he's a man, because of Southern culture or what, but you can tell it bothers him a little bit. And while they get past that in this episode, it's potentially something that could be revisited. So, as for what this whole day trip was supposed to be about, pretty much it's just Sunday going to visit her maternal grandmother, nicknamed Momo, and Ellis coming along because he used to do that in the past. And even though it's been about 25 years since both of them were 17 and going to Momo's house, Momo still fairly remembers Ellis, and he's welcome into the family for food and everything. Cousins asking him about why he stopped playing the game, what happened with him and Sunday, since apparently only Lynette knows that Ellis cheated on her, or else maybe they forgot, who knows. But either way, it's all a good time. And in terms of Sunday with her grandmother, they're cooking together. She's, of course, poking Momo to get that recipe book because, that's a major family heirloom. And by the end of the night, Momo gives it to her. Not because she's expecting Sunday to take over and cook for the family, or because she's her favorite grandchild or anything like that. But you can see that one of the things that Sunday's family, especially her mother's side really takes pride in is that they have, their history book in terms of being able to trace their family back generations. They have stuff like Momo's recipes, which also are part of their family's culture. And since Sunday is an active part in preserving that and even adding on to it by getting a picture of the grave of one of her great grandfathers, you can see that Momo recognizes that Sunday's not trying to get those recipes to exploit them for a restaurant. But the last topic is just Sunday and Ellis trying to figure out what can they be at this point. Sunday is under the impression that Ellis is trying to date again. He's doing all these nice things for her, really saying all the right things when it comes to dealing with her father. And when they dance with each other, it's in a way that shows there's still a lot of chemistry there. However, when she makes a move, now he tries to make out with him, but feel him up a little bit, he decides he wants to be just friends right now. And for Sunday, it's like, I got enough friends. And right now, what we have, I don't think that can transition over to friendship. So, going based off of how things were in the first season, you may want to expect a time jump of a couple of months when it comes to going from this episode to the next. At least so that time could allow both sides to reflect on what they've said and done and maybe allow for the next chapter to properly begin. So, for the review portion, it's pretty much all highlights, and I think the first one I want to really go into is just the establishment that Sunday is someone who has a certain level of complexity. It's established by Ellis that Sunday definitely was privileged far more than he is because because her family had money. She was pretty much guaranteed to go to whatever school she wants. And you take note of her current life, she not only has a successful restaurant in what I want to say, considering Atlanta's a popular city, probably in a very competitive market, but she also has it where whatever her network is of different restaurants, when her restaurant isn't able to have enough liquor for the day, she's able to call these 6-7 different places and get what she needs and have some left over for the following day. So you look at how Sunday's life is set up right now, it would be easy to think she's so privileged to the point that she's potentially spoiled, if not a brat. But as we've seen in the past, and also in this episode, when it comes to her father's house and her being willing to try to fix things on her own, using some YouTube videos and tools, she clearly is willing to get her hands dirty. When it came to being Momo's sous chef, she didn't complain on anything. She just was there willing to learn, go outside, pick some type of spice or whatever, and help out her grandmother. And even when it came to dealing with her cousins, who definitely ain't, bougie like her father, maybe his side of the family, she easily was able to communicate with them without any type of airs or graces. So, with not necessarily getting the type of information dump we got with Ellis in the first episode, but we're definitely getting to see less of a tell and more of a show side when it comes to Sunday and developing her, and it's appreciated. With that said, another thing that we appreciated seeing about Sunday is that when it comes to Ellis and her relationship, it's not just him cheating or her feeling like her identity got kind of absorbed into his that was a problem. It's also that Ellis, maybe because of his economic insecurity, part of him didn't like or appreciate the way Sunday would move. Whether you want to talk about her skipping class, which of course he felt like he couldn't do, much less, she probably pressured him to do to maybe make out in the hallway or whatever. And then when you add in her buying him things, yes, he notes that she has good taste and that, in a way he appreciated it. But at the same time, it just furthered along his insecurity because it seems that at times, and even now, he thinks that she looks down on him just because he doesn't have a similar status like she does. Because he mentions, like, when it comes to trying to get him working with Lynette, that maybe she looks down on what he does now because he's a plumber, and he goes back and forth with that enough times to make it clear that it's more of an issue for him than it is for her. And whether or not that's a case of him thinking maybe that he wasn't good enough for her, which could explain the cheating, potentially, or else that maybe she didn't fully recognize her privilege and how much of a pull up your bootstraps kind of guy he was, or else how he was raised to be. You can tell there's conflicts that may not be the big things that most people would think about when it comes to the relationship, like the cheating, but there's stuff that was issues building up to that event. And who knows, maybe it's what caused the event. Since right now we don't fully know what led Ellis to cheat, who he cheated with, if there was an aftermath to that, or what. But with that said, I think another positive is just Ellis recognizing that he's not ready to date Sunday in a way that would allow them to actually work this time. Between Anastasia, who clearly is still operating on the idea that she should have some type of privilege because she used to be with Ellis, like with the whole taking her car and thing, then trying to figure out how to handle both Bree and especially Evely, understanding that he's dating too. The man is not in the headspace to be taking on Sunday, her family, and be integrating into that life. Never mind, he just got cheated on, and yes, you can say, well, that's karma kicking his ass, but there's a major difference between being cheated on when you're 17 years old and being cheated on when you're in your early 40s. Early 40s, Ellis getting cheated on means he had to split up assets, figure out how to co-parent with his ex, and even though it seems like him and Anastasia are in a good place, I would say that Evely's not in a good place when it comes to this. And since Ellis is not in the mindset of where he can be truthful with his daughter, and they don't have the relationship where he feels like he's ready to expose her to the idea of him not being all about her, it's just bad timing. And considering that, at least based off of the first season, Cherish today is not above doing time jumps, it seems that maybe if we time jump a couple of months, maybe in a year, if we want to be that generous, that might be the point where Ellis could be ready to be honest with his daughter about what he's doing, be honest with Sunday about how he truly feels, instead of, trying to... I really want to give Ellis the benefit of the doubt of him just knowing where he is in life, and he doesn't want to hurt Sunday with trying to fake it till you make it. But at the same time, there's also this kind of idea that maybe this whole let's be friends thing is a kind of a way to hook her, to keep her around while he gets his stuff together, rather than, recognize he's not ready and he shouldn't hold her up in case she finds somebody. Because who knows? She lives in a whole different city, so there's so much that she could do that I guess he might be afraid that he already lost her once. He doesn't want to lose her again. But again, back and forth between thinking that he's kind of trash for trying to hold on to her and keep on the hook, while at the same time maybe thinking he's being truthful and he just wants that friendship, even if it can't develop into that relationship they once had. What we appreciate from episode 2 is that it shows us beyond the facade of not only this cute couple who blew up because of Ellis's infidelity, but also that it gives us a bit more on Sunday so that she's not remaining in this space where it's like she's the perfect one, where she had no issues going on. And it made it so that she can be complicated. She's someone who has a certain amount of privilege that maybe Ellis didn't understand because of his economic situation. And at the same time, it allows us to see that Ellis's version of Sunday is not the complete version of Sunday, because there's different layers to her that perhaps he did not see at the time, he didn't appreciate, or maybe through 25 years of growing, she is no longer the person that he decided that he didn't have to remain faithful to.